I'm like really wanting to like get on the dance floor right now and like bust a move after that. Like, I'm like, my sister made that for me, and I'm like, oh, I like that countdown. It's time
I
to
know.
bust a
It's so
move or two.
cool. I love
Okay, hopefully Facebook doesn't take it down. But anyway, oh no, because it's not a copyrighted song. That's why it's gonna work. So
Oh, awesome.
yes. What's up, healer? How are
Hi.
you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm so excited for you. I was actually talking to them, but how are you doing?
Oh, hi. I'm good.
Hi.
I'm good.
Good. Healers, this is Melissa. She is inside the Leader Lab with me, one of my clients, but also one of my good friends. And I'm really excited to chat with her. We don't, this is not scripted, FYI. Like none of what we're going to talk about today is scripted, but I do feel like there is a need for this conversation because people do go from one company to another. Leaders have to make very hard decisions sometimes to go from one company to another. And I think that it's like not talked about. And I don't think that it shouldn't be. I don't think that, we should encourage people to do certain things when it comes to making a switch. But I do believe that there are some important questions that you should be asking CEOs. There are things that matter. And I'm really excited to interview Melissa because Melissa was a leader that had to make a transition. And I've done it before too, and it's scary. And it's definitely, you kind of look at yourself like, am I doing something that's bad? And there could be guilt that's involved. So Melissa, one, I want to thank you for agreeing to have this conversation with me today because I know that it can be scary. It can be a little bit like, what's the feedback going to be? But I appreciate your boldness and your courage to be here with me today.
Yes, absolutely. And I agree. I feel like when I was making my transition, I was looking for stuff. I was like searching everything, and I was actually, messaging different coaches and stuff. I'm like, do you have like a podcast? Like I've searched everywhere. I needed advice. I needed help. And so I'm so glad that we're talking about this.
Yeah, absolutely. So why don't you tell everybody quickly, who are you, a little bit about your background so people can get to know you a little bit.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. My name is Melissa Salomon. I live in Orlando, Florida. So I'm just like right up the road from Marina. I am originally from Ohio. I have 2 kids. They are in acting and modeling. So we are super busy with that. My husband is a pilot. I met him when working for Southwest Airlines. I actually am still employed by Southwest Airlines as a flight attendant, but I mostly clear my schedule now because I do network marketing full time. Let's see, I'm 41. I love to craft and DIY and thrift and all that stuff. And yeah, I'm super passionate about beauty stuff, skincare, that kind of thing. I'm super passionate about that and just being really transparent about the things that, are important to me in regards to that. I'm very, ask me anything, open book, maybe too much.
I know. I'm like that too. I'm like, wait, did I need to share that? Sometimes I'm a little like, oops, my bad. But hey.
I think it comes from being a flight attendant because like people, like when you're at work and you get to know another flight attendant, like it's like you have 2 choices: have superficial conversation the whole trip, or really get deep pretty quick. And I'm all about getting deep. I love real talk. Tell me all your stuff. Tell me all your secrets.
Give me all your secrets, boo. Tell me all the things. So I love it. So you recently, had to make a decision in the past year, right? Where you had to make a transition. I want to talk about, first off, you weren't like shiny penny syndrome. There wasn't like, oh, I'm jumping from a company to a company to a company to a company to a company. That's not what was going on with you. And I think it's important to state that you were a leader in another company. And unfortunately, things happened to where you made the decision for your family to take a look at somewhere else. How long were you with that other company?
I was with the other company for 6 years. And, you're absolutely right. Like you take you with you. So if you are just always leaving and doing something else, not only are people not going to take you seriously, also it's if you aren't confident that your mindset is in check and that what you're bringing to the table is in check, then you're going to have the same results somewhere else. So I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah, absolutely. I definitely I wasn't burned out. I wasn't like, I was still working every day. It wasn't like I just was somebody that left to leave, or that left and always was doing new companies, so.
No, this was definitely a move you made for you. And I think that it's very okay, and there's nothing wrong with making a decision for what's better for your family. And if at any point, because there was bullying that went on, I believe you had to go through that, right? You had some bullying and some
Yeah.
things that went on, right? Thank goodness that your mind was in the right place and you had the right support, because that could have brought you down. But, just be mindful that when that happens, it's not about you, it's about them and the way they feel about certain things, right? So
Mm.
let's talk about, you mentioned that there were specific things you were looking for in a company, and you kind of had you actually had questions that you put together for CEOs, right? Because you actually interviewed companies and you had to find something that made sense for you. If something made sense for me, it doesn't necessarily mean it would make sense for you. So would you share a little bit about that journey?
Yeah, absolutely. And, even more so, just to elaborate on that, not for me, for my team, because I knew I could go anywhere probably and be successful, but it had to be the right fit for my team. It had to be something that I felt so confident that, that everybody could win, not just me. So that was something that was really important to me. And so I made a list. I from the things I could find, right? The things that I could find, I made a list of things that to ask a CEO when contemplating a move. And now, this is probably, if you're a big leader, this is kind of geared towards that, but this could also be things to ask a potential sponsor. So this could apply to a lot of those things. One thing I wanted to know is, what plans did the company have for their future? Um, what's the
Yeah.
ratio of distributor orders versus customer orders? That was important to me. I wanted to know what the reorder rate was. What behaviors do they spotlight at the company? For me, it was really important that they spotlight the right people, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Um,
Well, that creates culture, right? That creates the culture, and who you're highlighting is the culture that will be created.
right,
Exactly.
right.
Yep.
Um, have they ever been bankrupt?
Mm.
Do they have a plan in place to help distributors? Meaning like an ATM group or a system, right?
Mm.
And if they don't, are they willing to listen and implement something that we would create together, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and then these are some things, to ask a potential sponsor, like, do the team members get along? I mean, obviously not everybody's going to like each other, but like for the most part, there's definite vibes,
Yeah.
there's definite vibes.
Yeah.
Um, you know, uh, is the person, are they committed to their business? I mean, I used to say this all the time. I didn't have an upline at my previous company. I actually just was in a situation where my sponsor quit. She was just a hobby seller, and then that sponsor quit, and then I just rolled up, but I didn't really have a sponsor because I rolled up, but I was still really deep in that person's leg, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. So
Yep.
I was just kind of a lone wolf. Like, people would, at convention and stuff, people would ask, like, who's your sponsor? I'm like, kind of me. Like,
Me.
or who's your upline? Me.
Me.
So,
Yeah. Been there.
yeah. And so I used to always say, like, oh, you don't need an upline, you need a downline, and I used to be very, like, almost dismissive of people that said, like, oh, my team or my upline, but, and I'm like, really? Like, I'm not trying to hear that. While I do believe that that is true, you don't need an upline, you need a success line, right? But it really does matter who you are. If you're making a choice, right? Some of us just end up in situations, right? I
Yeah.
had no thought when going to my last company, but when you have a choice, really, like, who are you aligning yourself with? Because you spend a lot of time together. Ideally,
Yes.
you spend a lot of time together if that person's an awesome person. This is just something I wrote down, but I was really not into like the slick used car salesman vibe anything with a CEO or with a sponsor.
What do you mean by that? Can you dig in a little bit to that?
I spoke to some people and it was just like, oh, well, if you come over today, I'll put you on this team, or, I don't know. It just made me feel like
uncomfortable.
Yeah. Like I didn't don't try and sell to me like that. I don't know.
Don't buy me, right? Like I don't try to buy me, show me the value. Yeah.
Right.
I get that.
Yes, yeah.
Yep.
And it was just like, kind of just like promises, or like kind of just really slick stuff. I mean, I'm not really describing that well, but
no, I know what you mean. It's like, it's if it doesn't feel good in your gut, that's what it means to you. Like it didn't feel good for you, and it wasn't in alignment. It wasn't aligning at all. Yeah.
Right. Do they have any claims? And if they do, research them. So, it was really important to me that I was aligned with an ethical company that, that really did what they said and that were truthful.
Yeah.
So, I researched the things that CEOs told me.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing a lot of too is, and I think this will help those that are listening in on this, is that you were clear on what your values were, what was the most important to you, and where the companies checked off in that order that you were interviewing. And you were interviewing companies, and you were also looking at people you would be working with in that company to see if you were in alignment with them. So you took it to a place of looking for what mattered the most to you, so you could go all in and be successful. So here's my next question for you.
Yeah.
We don't have to get into detail, but you went through things, right, to where you had to basically rebuild.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So
you had to rebuild. So we talk a little bit about like what that was like, because you couldn't call people in the old company. You couldn't talk to people in the old company. So talk a little bit about that.
Well, I think, if you've had success in the industry before, there's a lot of people watching you that regret not joining you the first time. There are so many people that are watching you, and they're not going to miss out the next time you do this. They learned, you may have asked them the first time. And then, for me, I was almost hesitant, like, gosh, they said no before, but those are the people, you don't have to build your new team with people that are from your old company. There's a lot of people out there watching you and being inspired by you. So.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, at the end of the day, there's so many more people that said no to you than that said yes. And that were watching you, like you said, that's exactly what I did when I transitioned. I mean, at the end of the day, I had to rebuild a completely new team, and it didn't scare me because I was confident again in the choice I made, in the company I chose, in the CEO, and in the products, and all of those things were in alignment for me. And we all know it's great to have fast success, but at the end of the day, it's the longevity, it's the solid foundation that we build that's hopefully going to pay us for generations and generations and generations.
Another thing too, I was so grateful and thankful that I had never shunned anyone that left my previous company. I had stayed friends with all of them. I didn't burn any bridges. That good karma came back to me. I didn't anticipate leaving. I didn't anticipate that. I never planned to leave. But I really was kind to a lot of people. And then, there were other people that, at my previous company didn't really have a team or didn't have an upline. And so I always let them be on my team page. I trained them. I helped them. I shouted them out when they hit different milestones and stuff like that, because they didn't have a leader. And that also ended up serving me well, because when, that person needed a home, they came to me. They wanted to work with me because they knew the kind of person I was. So it's like, what are you putting out in this world that will eventually come back to you? I think Lisa Grossman says it like, she plays the long-term game. I'm saying it wrong, but I mean, it's something I hadn't anticipated, but
relationships, every relationship matters. Every relationship you have, it's going to come back some way, right? The universe is always going to come back. So if it's a great relationship or a good relationship, and people, Maya Angelou says, people remember how you make them feel, right? So I love that. I love that so much. What would you say to a leader who's like, I'm not sure, like they're, you know, they're at a point where they're like, they're contemplating, right? What was it for you that was like made you make that decision? And I'm saying this without obviously whatever drama or whatever, but there had to have been certain things for you that shifted over a long period of time that made you make that jump. So say there's a leader that's watching this right now. What were some of those things for you?
Honestly, for me, it was just a gut feeling, a feeling in my heart, and I couldn't kick it. I couldn't shake it. I began feeling inauthentic, and that didn't sit right with me. And I kept pushing it down, thinking like that it wasn't really a thing. But then I read something. It said like, what if your feelings are actually telling you something? You know, maybe you should listen to that. You know, maybe there's a reason you're feeling that way. And maybe it's something you don't even know. Or maybe, you know, maybe it's just a feeling. And really that was it. And I've always been somebody that I hate change. I hate disappointing people. I'm a people pleaser. I am someone that really doesn't take a lot of risks, and truly was the most difficult decision of my life, which sounds really dramatic, but it was really hard because one, I was leaving a lot behind, but two, I knew I was severing a lot of relationships as well. And that was really tough, but I couldn't shake that feeling. And I decided, you know what, like I had turned 40 the year I left. And I thought, you know what, like I'm 40 years old and I'm going to follow my gut feeling. And it's telling me it's time to go. So that was it, really.
And you seeked guidance too from other professionals in the industry, right?
Yes, that too. And you know, that's one thing I would really recommend as well, when doing something like this is working with a coach to help you with this transition, to have someone to ask questions, to help you build new systems. I think it's one of the reasons that we have been so successful is that, you know, we went in at zero, you know, making no money, started from the bottom. Now we're here. And we, not only were we at zero, we were negative because we hired a coach. And so, but I think that that's just so important because if you feel really, really strongly about something, you got to get people to help you with that, to do it the right way. If you're going to do it, go big and have the right people aligned with you so that you can do it the right way.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for taking time out to have this conversation. I know that there's going to be so many humans that are going to be messaging, just thanking us for this conversation because it's not talked about enough. So I can't wait to see you in a couple of weeks. Give you a big squeeze at the Say Online Sales Summit. You're going to be on the panel, so I'm excited to have you there.
So excited.
Yes. Yay. And if there was one thing that you could say to a healer right now, and the healer right is watching this and is like, I just want to be successful. I just want to be successful. What would be like a quick tip you could give them, or something, some insight or something to kind of close this with?
I mean, I'm all about authenticity and being your authentic self. And, you know, don't be afraid to show the things that maybe aren't necessarily perfect in your life. I mean, if you follow Marina, she's great at that. And that is what really allows you to connect with people, and just that show up every day. And it doesn't have to be all or nothing. I feel like some people are like, they're like, go, 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 go. And then maybe they mess up and they don't post on the weekend. And then they're just like done for like a month. And you're like, hello, where'd you go?
Yeah. Where'd you go? It's okay. It's okay.
A little bit is better than nothing.
Agreed.
Right? Like do one post, just jump in. Like it's not in, and there's no shortcut. There's no shortcut to being good at lives or being successful. Like you have to do it rough first. It's only going to get better with practice. So Yeah, your pictures aren't going to be great right away. Yeah, your lives are probably going to suck right away, but that's the only way. There's no shortcut. And the people that are watching you are going to actually fall in love with that progression. And that's going to make them want to be around you or join you or buy from you. So don't be afraid of that.
Truth bombs right there. Well, I love you so much.
I love you too. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay. Have a good day. And bye, healers. We'll see you at the summit.
Bye, guys.
Bye.